You sweaty dog.
Oh my God, dude. I haven't stopped running. It's been nonstop literally the entire day. I have an acre. I mowed my acre today while I was watching my 3-year-old and my dog, my German Shepherd watched my 3-year-old because I was at the back of the property, which is like 100 yards away. And we're still like 50, 60 yards off the road, but my German Shepherd will like herd her back
That's awesome.
into the tiki bar. But she was laying on the outdoor couch watching YouTube outside, just eating snacks outside. So I was able to see her. Yeah.
Living the life, man. All right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Chondro Lounge. I am Lucas with Chuck, your other co-host, and man, Chuck, I am excited for this one because we before when we started talking a lot more and we were kind of planning this podcast, you were talking to me about a buddy of yours, Ryan, who you helped design an incubator for, and so we're going to be having Ryan of High Voltage Chondros on, and do we have a crazy success story with a crazy incubation scenario that man, Chuck really kind of told me about the story. It blew my mind.
Yeah. Any hair I had left on my head's gone now after this. I kind of took it as my own personal challenge to help Ryan out. He was in a dire situation, and it was messy the whole way through, but he hatched some green trees out of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to share the story. And we were talking, a little offset before this, and my biggest fear before getting my first chondro and being obsessed with them was how delicate they were, right? And now everybody is saying they're easy, and I got one and they're easy, but everyone talks about just how delicate these eggs are. And if there's anything that this story is going to demonstrate is that I think we have a little bit more to learn about the toughness of these eggs. And I don't know, I've always been a believer with any snake. You got a healthy embryo that wants to live, it's going to fight to live. And this is one of those stories. So before we bring them on, I want to real quick shout out our only sponsor of this podcast, AE Foundry, Adler Romero. Coming from the retic world and seeing a lot of the people in the chondro game, I've noticed, Chuck, that not a lot of people have logos, not a lot of people have business names. If you guys are wanting to design a logo, create a business name, and create a brand for yourself outside of just Joe Schmo chondros, hit up Adler. Not only are his prices extremely competitive, but he has next level graphic design experience that he's created some phenomenal logos. So if this is piquing your interest, listen to the ad that we play at some point in this episode, and hit him up at AE Foundry on Instagram. He's a good dude, probably one of my best friends, if not my best friend in the reptile world, and you won't be disappointed.
I got a couple shout outs as well if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think first shout out, I definitely want to give a shout out to MJ on Trap Talk.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
He gave us it was a very nice shout out on one of his All Up in the Tree Tuesdays talks. And I appreciated that. MJ, thanks, buddy. We really appreciate the support. And I wanted to give a shout out to Socrates and Bill Stiegel. I want to congratulate them on being invited to Reptile Talks, I think is the event. It was in Anaheim, California. They both just spoke there. I'm lucky enough to call them both friends.
Right.
I just wanted to commend them on that's a pretty cool achievement to be invited, across the country to go speak.
Right. Yeah. No, that was a huge event. And again, echoing the shout out to MJ. Appreciate you on shouting out the podcast there. We love what you're doing over at the Trap Talk Network. Big things that you have coming up. And it's been fun to watch the whole thing explode.
He's doing a great job. He really is. It's a great show.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and the other shows he has coming on are good as well. I love listening to Cush's Corner and getting my scrub fix over there. And yeah, it's becoming extremely well-rounded with all the shows that he has on multiple days of the week now. And I'm sure I don't know, MJ dreams big. I feel like he's going to be happy when he has 5 shows 7 days a week that he's pumping out. But you want to go ahead and get Ryan over on?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this. This is an exciting story.
All right. Whether you've poured your heart and soul into your reptile business or you've just begun your business journey, AE Foundry has you covered with next level expertise in graphic design, motion graphics, videography, photography, and so much more. If you've been dying for a new logo for your reptile business, motion graphics for your current logo, a new website, or need assistance making your video podcast come to life, then listen carefully. AE Foundry's mission places storytelling at its core. AE Foundry believes that a distinctive story and background are the driving forces that set your brand apart. In today's market, consumers seek more than just products. They crave a connection built on trust with the brands they cherish. AE Foundry is committed to empowering small businesses and fostering authenticity that resonates with their consumers. Reach out to them and let them help you craft a visual narrative that helps establish a genuine and lasting connection with your audience. To contact AE Foundry, email them at aromero@aefoundry.com or on Instagram at AE Foundry. All right, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Not much.
What's up, brother?
No.
Yeah,
What's up,
nice to meet you. This is the first time that we've talked. We talked a little bit before we started recording, and I feel like I didn't nearly go through as much stress as you went through or Chuck went through, but just Chuck sharing the story with me. I was like, no way is this gonna work? I was like, you're worried about nothing. They're dead. Don't like. So I'm excited to have you on. I appreciate you being flexible and willing to record at this time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like yourself and your reptile history, and talk a little bit about high voltage chondros.
I'm Brian Clary. High voltage chondros. Just came up with that. I'm a lineman during the day, so it just kind of fit with the family. That's what helped pay for all my reptiles and everything. So had to give a shout out to it.
For sure.
As far as how long I've been keeping them, not very long, maybe 7 or 8 years. So just started off, I always loved reptiles as kids. But my mom was like, absolutely not going to happen. So I never could have snakes, but I always wanted them. Finally talked to my mom when I was in high school into letting me get a ball python. And then I was staying with my dad and came back the following week, and the python was gone. And I was like, what happened? She's like, oh, it was shaking, so I cut the head off.
Oh, what the?
It's like, what? She's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it was trying to shed. She's like, oh, I don't know. I was shaking, so I cut it off.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that topped the story, the incubation story that we're about to talk about. Like, holy shit.
And that's all, folks.
Yeah.
Got to put a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode.
So after that, I didn't even try. And then finally, when I got hired on doing line work, moved out and got my own place and got my wife a bearded dragon. And she fell in love with it, obviously. So I was like, oh, I want to get a snake. She's like, all right, yeah, not a problem. So I got a red tail and still have them. And just went from there. Ended up getting a couple more bearded dragons, turtle, leopard gecko. We got ball python, we got tarantulas. Just whatever we see and we like it, we get it. So
you make sure to explain to your wife that if you see the ball python's head shaking, that it's fine. It's, you don't.
She's pretty in tune.
Oh man. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, you started, you got a boa and got another ball python and some bearded dragons, and those are the typical, like, very common pets that you see out there. But when it comes to chondros, like that's one, I feel like when everyone looks at a chondro, right, and they keep reptiles, they're like, oh man, I love that. And the moment that they get onto YouTube or Facebook and they start like researching or going into it, they start to see like, oh, this is, they require like special care. They're hard to keep. I mean, at what point did chondros come into the picture for you? I know you said like 7 years ago, but like what what struck that interest to kind of dive into it?
I seen one on Instagram and I was like, that's badass. I want one. So I was living in a small town in the middle of the desert, and there's only one pet shop there. And I was talking to the guy there, and I was like, "Hey, what are the chances of you getting a green tree if I could buy?" And he's like, "You don't want one." I was like, "Why not?" I was like, "They're aggressive. You can't hold them. Like they're just for looks." I had just had my son at the time, and he's like, "Not good to have around babies, this and that." And I was like, "All right." So I kind of just put it in the back of my mind. And then I was sitting at home one day, and me and my brother's really big into reptiles too, and we're talking on the phone, and he's like, "Oh yeah, there's this website, and they have green trees." I was like, "All right." So I went online and I was checking them out, and I looked at my wife and I said, "I'm just gonna buy one." She was like, "Okay, go for it." So I bought one, and as soon as it got to our house, my wife fell in love. Little yellow neonate, it's the wrong type, and he was
Import?
like, "Oh yeah, I could." Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Both of mine are import. I only have two, and then the 5 neonates. So,
Oh wow.
um,
Okay. Dude, good
yeah,
for you, man. That's self-control on a different level, man. I went from 1 to 7 in 6 months. But
I would love to.
yeah, I got my retics that fund the new addiction now, so that helps me. But man, yeah, I'm jealous of that willpower.
It had a lot to do with work because I was going through an apprenticeship and all that. So all my focus was on work.
Got it.
And
Got it.
then after I topped out and made it to journeyman, I was like, well, now what do I do? I don't have anything else to challenge myself. And that's kind of how I got into breeding,
Okay.
or at least attempting to.
Right. Well, I mean, you did the damn thing this time, and we'll get into that. So you mentioned you have a sarong type, and that was the first one you got, and you only have two.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about like the second half of the pairing that you did? What do you have any information on the other one?
So she's a wild caught Jaipur type.
Okay, Jaipur type.
And yeah, I bought her as a yearling.
Cool.
Probably 2 years after I got him.
Okay, man. And has it been fairly easy for you to keep them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the sarong one, even though I got him as a neonate, I didn't know a whole lot about it. Just kind of going off, everybody's like, "Oh, the complete chondro, you gotta read it if you're gonna successfully keep these." And I was like, okay. So I was kind of just got that, and I was just kind of skimming through it. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll throw it in a small cage and see what's up, and just kind of go off its body language. So I did, and he was fine. Um, I don't know if you guys can hear dogs barking in the back.
A little bit, but it's cool. I got some too that you'll probably hear
Okay.
when my wife gets home.
All right. So yeah, I just had him in a little glass cage. He was fine, like a little 10-gallon, and he seemed to do fine. And as he was getting bigger, I looked at my wife and I was like, time to get some PVC cages. They look a lot better, and so we did. We got a 4 foot with a divider right when I got my yearling, and just split them up into that.
Awesome. And if you don't mind me asking, I kind of want to just, again, I'm pretty new into keeping that. I mean, and breeding for you is definitely new, but I mean, keeping chondros for 7 to 8 years, and not only that, but just imports as well. Pretty damn awesome that they were thriving in glass cages, right? But like,
Yeah.
what do you do for like your husbandry aspect? Like, how do you do you use substrate? What do you do for perches, all that good stuff?
No, I tried it all. I tried doing the bioactive at first, and then I tried a bunch of live plants in it, and it just wasn't working for me. So now I just have them on the perches that came in the PVC enclosures, and with puppy pads at the bottom and a little ramekin for water. Spray them down maybe once a week. Just kind of go off of how they look.
Fairly simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, just pulled up your Instagram here. That was the pairing there. Man, I love the little white flowers that the Jaipur type has, and yeah, that's a nice looking pair, man.
Yeah. So the sarong is so yeah, that one with the blue right there with the blue dorsal, that's my Jaipur right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had originally gotten the sarong after reading the complete chondro said that it was going to have a lot of blue, so that's why I got the sarong type. And then turns out he has hardly any blue, and the
Right.
Jaipur has a lot.
You know that I'm sure Chuck likes that blue dorsal right there. Chuck's all about that blue dorsal.
Oh yeah, I'm digging it. Oh, trust me, I stalked that page all the way to the beginning.
Yeah, man, and they both look great. And you got them in PVC now. Let me any. Well, you know, we'll get into like your breeding story here in a second, but
Oh, go to that one.
which one?
Oh, you the blue dorsal right there. Oh no, up to the left.
Other one, okay. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
that's nice.
that's
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, designers are phenomenal. I mean, I have a handful of them, but there's like just that classic green with the blue stripe, just wild type look. I mean, that's as pretty as it gets right there, man.
that's
Simple.
the way
Yeah.
that's the way God intended it to be in the wild. That's what fascinates me.
All right, Ryan Young over here.
Oh wait, no, if I'm gonna be Ryan, I'll be like, you know what, man, I just like that no one finger fucked that one. Look, dude, that is an unbelievable animal. That is beautiful.
Yeah,
God,
man,
and it's a female. That's a nice snake.
it is. So let's start with, before we get into the incubation story. Let's kind of get off on to what led you to like want to breed them, and then where did you go to get that information, and how did parents, well, was this year the first year you paired them?
No. So I paired 2 years ago. Got 18 good eggs, and I had an incubator, and I ended up killing the full clutch just because I didn't really know how to do it. I was hitting up one of my buddies that breeds ball pythons, and he was trying to kind of coach me, but I was basically just going off of him and the complete chondro and trying to figure it out. And I think I cared him to death, honestly. Like, I should have just, after this time and knowing somewhat what to do, last time I opened the containers too much. I was going in there, and I had the probe inside the egg box for a little bit, and then realized that's the wrong thing to do. So I'd open it up, take it out, mess with the probe placement. So I think the temperature was fluctuating too much, and all that. So yeah, they only lasted, I want to say maybe 3.5 or 4 weeks, and then they were all dead.
Yeah, I feel like with eggs that are that small, fluctuation of temps can, definitely be, deadly to them. I know that in my experience with incubating retic eggs, they can fluctuate 2-3 degrees, and for the most part, they're going to be, fine. But I feel like the smaller the egg, that smaller the embryo, the more concise the parameters definitely need to be. So take us into so you've gotten them to lay multiple times. How are you cycling? How are you, gauging that? Like what's your understanding of your animals that lead to them laying eggs?
I just keep them at like 85 to 87 throughout the whole year. And then I just drop it about 1 degree on October 1st. And then I'll start going 1 degree every other day until I get to like mid 70s, and seems to work for me. I don't
Now,
know. I've heard of a lot of people that are like they got it down to a science. I don't have that, you know. Right now I'm trying to learn everything off of podcasts and doing it that way. But yeah, that seems to work for me. So I get to about 72 or 73. I
now
stopped doing
that's
the night drop.
I was going to say that's the hot spot only on night drop, right? You keep the daytime
Yeah,
temperatures at your 85 to 87.
85. Yeah,
Are you,
about 85.
Okay.
are you messing with the amount of hours that the night drop is, or are you only dropping temps?
No, I'm only dropping temps.
And are you 12 and 12, 10 and 14?
12 and 12. So 7 to 7 is the night drop.
That's my times too, actually. 7 to 7.
Okay. I mean, I know you said like you don't got it down to a science, but I mean, you got it down to where, I mean, it's October 1st and a degree every other day till you're in the mid set. I mean, that's pretty systematic. I'd say that, and it, you know, that's a safe way to do it, you know, not drastically dropping them and, you know, potentially stirring up any RI possibility or anything like that. I don't know how likely that would be. But no, I mean, it seems like you got a rhythm for them. And I don't know what I've been hearing a lot from interviewing people, and then also just talking to some of the breeders that, you know, are in my circle that I look to is, you know, they stress the importance of kind of starting off with younger chondros and babies, because when they get into that adult stage, they know their husbandry and parameters. So that way, when you start to do your temp cycling or food cycling, you know, it's a change for them, and that stimulates, you know, follicular development. Do you do any food cycling?
No, I honestly, if they show me that they're hungry, I feed them. I'm not. I don't have like a set once a week or every other week or whatever. If I open the cage to mist and they turn their head on me, all right, I guess you're getting food.
Okay. Yeah,
It's just I don't know. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself on if I'm doing it right or if I'm doing it wrong. It's just what are they telling me? It's kind of how I go about it.
right. Right. And I mean, I think that, like, you know, I want to be a little like over control with the chondros because it's all new and I hear about how difficult it is, you know, but I'm that same way with, you know, the retics, just because I know them, and I pay attention to their behavior and, you know, gauge when I feed them, when I pair them based off of that and really nothing else.
Yeah,
They
it
love
works for me
consistency.
still.
Yeah, exactly.
Consistency is everything, regardless of what your keeping techniques are. My personal opinion is people keep them completely different ways in completely different parts of the country. But the very successful people are the ones that don't, for lack of better words, that don't fuck with it. Keep them the way they like to be kept and keep it consistent. And the snakes end up really kind of developing their own cycle.
Right.
They don't love
Right.
change. Some change, but they don't like big changes.
Yeah, right. Like incremental night drops, right? Like that's a change that's gonna, you know, stimulate what you need. But do you notice any for me, because I'm a very observant, you know, keeper and breeder? Do you notice behavior changes that lead you to?
I don't.
No. Okay. Cool. Well, not cool.
No, I
That
don't.
doesn't help me.
I don't think that I'm. I don't think that I'm keen enough to it yet.
Okay.
This is like the whole breeding thing. It's just because I wanted a challenge. It's not like, oh, I wanted to breed them and make money or nothing like that. You know, like it's just something that I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I got a male and a female. Let's see what happens. So
Right.
I think maybe if I was looking for something like that, then maybe I could. But I didn't pay attention to anything like that.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think that, like, I don't know, there's something about like not having pressure on yourself to like have to like, because, you know, when people go into this and they want to breed them, man, a lot of people spend, you know, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, you know, on animals and cages and food, by the time that they're getting up to their first breeding season at that point, like there's so much pressure and a lot of people are, I gotta imagine like trying to be perfect and trying to do things perfectly and that pressure and stress, I think can play a role in overthinking things sometimes. I don't know if you agree,
Absolutely.
Chuck.
Every time I try to be perfect, they just laugh at me.
Yeah, they slap you in the face.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, try this." Nope. Everything when everything's working perfectly, just throw a wrench in the works, and then you got to adapt. That's the coolest thing about it is you try to plan, you try to be perfect, and they don't have the same plans.
Yeah. So speaking about like plans, you got into this breeding season that led to the clutch that you have right now. And Chuck, I'm going to kind of take a seat back because I think you can walk him through the story better because you and him walk through this together. And I'm just going to sit back and laugh and be in shock and just enjoy this. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing, from, egg deposition to hatch on what happened.
Yeah, so Ryan, why don't you kick it off, and then we'll bounce, we'll bounce off each other, and we'll get through the story because it's good. Because there's some shit I may have forgotten. All I know is that I'm pretty sure if we didn't have unlimited minutes on our phones, we would have maxed our minutes out within 3 days, the first 3 days of knowing each other.
Yeah, it was stressful to say the least. So yeah, basically, let's see, I got a little bit of notes here. So she had a prelay shed, so I kind of knew a few days into when she would be laying. I didn't notice the ovulation. I was working a lot at the time and just missed it, I guess. I don't know, but she shed, and I was like, okay, well, this is about when it should be. And then on the 11th, she had been going into the lay box a couple times, but then she'd come back out. I was like, I know that she's gonna lay some. She's got to, and she didn't. She would just perch back up, and I was like, man, what's going on here? Well, I come home on the 11th, and she was perched up, and but she looked a lot skinnier, and I was like, oh, she laid. So I looked in the egg box, and sure enough, she had laid 15. Yeah, she had laid 15 eggs, and just completely abandoned them. And since I had tried the incubator before, and I ended up killing all 18 of them, I sold the incubator after that. I was like, you know what? Mom knows best. That's what everybody says. So I'll let her do it. Well, she didn't want to do it for me this time. So I panicked, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I posted it on Instagram. I was like, I don't know anybody else. So maybe somebody in the community can help me out. I had people tell me like, yeah, just take it to a friend's incubator. I don't have a friend with an incubator. I don't know anybody else that does this. I'm kind of screwed right now. So I hit up the pet shop, the local pet shop, and I'm like, hey, do you guys incubate eggs? And they're like, yeah, what kind of eggs you got? I'm on green trees. All right, cool. Drop them off. We got you. I was like, all right, cool. So I rush them over there, and
Hold on.
we got it.
How did you transport them over there?
The whole egg box. I just grabbed the egg box. It's only about 5 minutes away. I just grabbed the whole egg box and just took it straight to them. They're like, we have the incubator already set up. It's fine. Just bring them to us. So that's how I took them. Okay. I was driving while my brother-in-law's in the passenger seat. We turned on the heater because it was raining, and we're both sweating our balls off in the car. And I'm just full throttle all the way to the pet shop.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So we get there. They take them, and I was like, all right, so I need it at this temp or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, we got a guy that he's done it before, so don't worry. If you got special parameters that you want, he knows what he's doing. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, whose eggs are these, So they take them. I get back home. Chuck hits me up. He's like, "What's up, dude? Where are the eggs? How they doing? What's going on?" I'm like, well, they're at
My
the pet shop
man.
now. Yeah, Superman came into play.
Hold on.
And
You didn't know him at the time?
no, I haven't talked to Chuck's the only person I've talked to. I talked to Bill just a little bit on Instagram last week. But yeah, I don't know anybody in the community. We made a page and it was just something for me to look at green cheese.
Side note, real quick. Even if not everybody has a chondro, you know that everybody deep down, their favorite snake to look at online is a chondro because your Instagram has like 1,400 followers and you know nobody in the community. That is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's just they like to look at them. We like to look at them. So that's all I did. Me and my wife runs the Instagram for the most part. I'm not tech savvy at all. Like my brother-in-law helped me hook up the webcam and everything last night. My wife runs Instagram. I just know how to like pictures. So, so she started going to town on that, and she's like, "We got 1,000 followers. We got this many followers." And I'm like, "Wow, we got two snakes."
I'm gonna hire her to be my freaking social media manager,
Right?
man. I mean, two chondros know nobody in the community, and she got you up to almost 1,500 followers. That's mind blowing.
Yeah. So bless her. She knows her way around Instagram, I guess. So Chuck hits me up and he's like, "All right, brother, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna put all this stuff together," and I'm like trying to write everything down. Oh,
Hold up. I called you, right? Oh no, yeah, I called you on Instagram because you messaged me, but I saw your post first before you messaged me.
Okay, yeah, I was just in panic mode. I was messaging everybody.
You were in panic mode. I called you and I'm like, "Hey, bro." I was like, "How are the eggs? Here's what you're gonna do." And you're like, "Oh no, they're fine. They're at a pet shop." And I'm like, "No, no, you didn't. No, they're not. Don't tell me that." And I was like, they're gonna kill them. I said they're gonna kill them. You're like, "No, they hatched them before." I'm like, "They're gonna kill them." And then it like festered, and you called me like the next day. You're like, "All right, what do I need to buy?" And then
He's like, "Have they done it before?" I'm like, "Shit, they said they had a guy that has. I don't know if they actually have." And he's like, "Yeah, they're not gonna make it, dude. Like, here's a list of stuff to go get."
and you told me they were gonna take half of them, and I'm like, "No, they're not. Go take them back. We're gonna hatch them in a cooler."
Right. And I'm so laid back. I'm like, "Yeah, it's 15 eggs. They said that for hatching them, they want half of them. So I mean, whatever. At least they're not all gonna die." And he's like, "No." He's like, "You need to go get those back. Here's your list." So I'm like, "All right."
So wait, I had him. He went and bought an igloo cooler from Walmart, and I just drew a diagram, and the diagram was the cooler with
Hold on.
what was that?
The first one, he gave me, okay, so he gives me the list, right? He's like, "This is what you need to grab." I'm like, "All right, sweet." So I had to wait till the next day. So I go on the next day. Well, I sent him a picture and I had no idea, right? It was just a tote with perlite in it with some light diffuser and then this little tiny egg box. I'm like, "Oh, they're little eggs. They'll fit in this." So I sent him a picture and I'm like, "Is this what you're talking about?" And he's all, "Oh no." "Nope, that's not it at all." He's all, "Let me draw this out."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh shit."
So I had him get an igloo cooler, a decent sized one, and then you couldn't find a heat pad that was big enough, so he used two heat pads overlaid as the base layer on the bottom of the cooler, both into wasn't a power strip, right?
Yeah.
With a single plug, yeah. So the power strip, both heat pads into a power strip, they acted as one, and then the power cord plugged into the back of a thermostat to control it.
Mhm.
Then on top of those heat pads, I told him to get kitty litter pans, but he got basically the same thing, the sterno serving trays, the tin foil trays you'd get at like a barbecue. I had him fill them up with water, and then I had him get light diffuser and suspend the light diffuser above that. So now you have a wet chambered incubator, and the water acts like a heat sink to make sure that there's really no hot spots like baking the eggs or anything. That really keeps the, it's basically like the water bottles in the incubator.
It keeps them stable.
Yeah, stabilizes it. And then that was pretty much the incubator, other than, drawing out probe placement where you should put the probe. And then I just kind of told him, put a computer fan anywhere, but get a computer fan to just get some, consistency and circulation in there. And then the egg box was that real specific, was it Sterilite was the brand, the one with that like cyan blue, like foam gasket that goes around the top.
Yeah, they're 28 quarts.
I don't know the size that he got, but it was fairly large.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
either.
no, I'm looking at it. It's 28 quart.
Okay. Yeah, and then in that I made him get Orbeez. He got Orbeez, and then suspended that over PVC pipes with more light diffuser. And then he put the eggs right on the light diffuser. There was clumps, but there was a couple single eggs. So then I had him trim light diffuser in pieces and had him put it on either side of the single eggs to kind of act
they don't roll
like a sim container bumper. Yeah. And then I was like, yeah, just, put some holes in it. And I didn't specify the holes. And he sends me this picture, and it looked like someone shot him with fucking buckshot. I was like, how many holes are in that thing? He said, I think it was like 18 or 24. I was like, dude, cover like
all besides 2.
all of them besides 2.
Yeah. So I did, because there's 4 corners, right? So I did 3 on each corner. And then I did 3 in the middle on each side.
Okay.
And I was like, well, it's just airflow. That's what we need.
Right.
He's like, no, not that much. At this point, you just set them in the incubator.
And it wasn't like we were running test runs. The eggs were in the effing box.
Yeah, no, they were like you had to get the but let me ask you this. I want to dial it back a notch. How were the conditions of the eggs when you received them, and do you know what they were incubating them on? Like when you went and you got and picked them up, like what did they have them in?
We just had them in a little box with not perlite.
That's what they had them in?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I'll put that picture in here. That they had them in. That looks like soil.
Yeah, and there was freaking mold on the lid.
Yeah, there's mold on the lid. You can't see it right there on his phone. But I was livid when I got them back.
You couldn't even grow a tomato plant in that thing.
Those look like I love how they put like they put sphagnum moss in there, but it's like only like 3 shreds. Like but it looks like I don't know, it looks like fish tank rocks.
It was rough, is what it was. It was eggs.
Yeah, it was.
Oh geez.
Something else.
Okay, yeah, but hey, they'd done this before. Chuck, man, what a good call. And also I want to take a moment to just highlight I've seen some bad stuff in the retic community, and the retic community has been it's building up little by little, but it's been in shambles like the last 2.5 years with the Slither exotics just neglect stuff and all this competition, and it's amazing that you not knowing anybody that someone reached out to you to like provide support. I would like to feel that, had I seen that post, I've never done chondro eggs, but I know I understand incubation, and I've built a igloo incubator. I'd like to say that I would have reached out, but Chuck, man, that's huge. That you and again, like Ryan, you're not out here, trying to get rich off of these animals. Again, this is like, let me, I want to challenge, and boy, is this story living up to that hype. So if the eggs didn't make it, wouldn't have been the end of the world, but someone was there to support you that's never met you. I don't know. I think that's cool. You're a good co-host.
Thanks, bro. I made a new friend. I got a new friend out of it. That's the best part.
Exactly. Now let him be and just have 2 chondros, okay? Like let's not let's keep him happy and not spend a bunch of money on snakes.
Oh no, I see that happening for sure. Now that my wife's all into it, but
Dude, it's a whole different ball game when it comes to experiencing watching your eggs hatch for the first time. Like if anyone's out there just like winging it and saying like, we'll see what happens. But the moment I feel like anybody that sees those heads popping out of that egg, it's over. You're going to want to do it every year until you can't.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got him back from the pet shop, 15 of them, and some of them were shriveled. Only a couple looked really plump.
Yeah, there was like maybe 5 out of the 15 that looked perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All the rest were pretty dented. Chuck's like, nah, that's a maternal incubation. They're going to be more dented. Don't worry about it. Later on, did I find out that he's stressing about it in bed, telling his wife, I don't know if they're going to make it or not.
Bro, he was on the phone with me. He's like, man, some of them look pretty damn dimpled. I don't know.
Yeah, I told him, dude, it's fine, bro. They'll bounce right back. And I'm in bed with my wife. I'm like, oh my God, these fucking, I think it got hatch. I told them they're going to be fine. I'm freaking out over this shit. I just made this man spend like 48 hours worth of benefit time going shopping all over Southern California for light diffuser and friggin' whatever else I made you buy. Orbeez. He had Orbeez everywhere. It was... He's getting a FLIR gun every single day. We're changing the probe. Like he would say, oh, it's this temp. It's this temp. Dude, your ambient temp was causing the incubator for some reason. Obviously the incubator was not perfect. It was thrown together literally with eggs in it. It was being tested. And it was just the ambient temperature. And explain that to everyone, how the ambient temperature was really affecting it. Cause I remember it was like, maybe over like a 3-week period when it really started to warm up, I would get a call every now and then, but yo, dude, they're up to 90 or 91. And I'm like, stop looking at the eggs. Take the Govee out of the box. I was like, forget the egg box temp. What's the chamber temp? And he's like, dude, I feel like they're going to die. And I'm like, they're not going to die. And I hang out with my wife. I'm like, they're going to fucking die. They're going to die. What is happening? I was like, why are they, it's a cooler. Why is it being affected by the ambient temp?
No, that impacted me too. You know, I my first season breeding retic eggs, I used the igloo method, and you know, I used a water heater, like a fish tank water heater, and put water, you know, like a third of the way full of the entire igloo incubator, and my snakes laid in, you know, on Christmas. And so it was winter. So my house is, you know, we got the heat running in the house, but you know, I'm comfortable at 69 in the winter with the heat running, right? Like, so my ambient temperature in the house is 69, and it's causing these massive fluctuations in temperatures in the incubator. And then we had that Texas winter storm, and we lost power and all that shit. It was a shit show. But then the very next year, same ordeal. And I last minute built an old refrigerator incubator. Because I was like, I'm not doing the igloo shit anymore. I was like, I'm not. The first week that the eggs were in there, it was fluctuating, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. So I panicked just like you, and I had to throw. You know, I found like one of those gas station, you know, refrigerators. You know, put the heat tape in the back, put fans, put water bottles on the bottom to fill it up with mass. And dude, within like 4 hours, my temps were more stable in there than any other, like than that igloo was ever. Yeah, it's ambient temperatures can really impact the fluctuation of temperatures. And then like Chuck said, Govee's inside the egg box, that's asking to grow gray hair, man. Because those eggs,
or lose it all.
Yeah.
I ain't got none
You
left.
gotta tell me.
I had about 30% of my hair left when he called me, and it's all gone now. So
Yeah, it was weird. It was like
yeah,
if my house went over 72, then it was just spiked up to 90, 91. I'm like, I'm just cooking eggs at this point. Like, I don't know what to do. So I'm telling my wife, I'm like, this doesn't go above 72. Went at the thermostat, and she's like, why? I'm like, because we're going to be cooking snakes if we do. She's like, okay, cool. 70 to 72. That's all we're doing. Like, all right, cool. But we just had this like, California's weather is so weird to where it's 50 degrees as a high, and then the next week it's 75, 79. So you can't really, especially at that time of year, you can't judge it really. So it was just AC and heater constantly just going.
yeah,
So
and my stress level.
yeah.
No kidding. You
There
know,
we were playing with the thermostat. I would make him go up to,
oh
down
me, dude.
to.
Yeah, dude. I did the same thing when I had the igloo
Nonstop.
incubator, man. It
Bro,
was,
it was stressful.
dude, and
And especially for Chuck, because he goes by tenth of a degree, and I got these VEs that only go a whole degree.
son
And
of a
he's like,
bitch.
bro, you can't have it like this. And I was like, that's what I got, man. I don't know. Like,
Yo, at
he's going
least
on
he had a VE thermostat on hand. Okay.
No, no. Guess wait. You make fun of me for it all the time, Lucas. Guess what he had on hand to read temps?
What?
A FLIR thermal imaging camera.
How do? Oh, because he does electricity. Okay, that dude, that freaking thing's a monster. Is yours that
Yes.
big?
No, mine is nowhere near the cost of that one. That one's like $3,000. The one he has, 2,600, I think, is that one. Mine's nowhere near that much.
No, I mean I make fun of you for it's only because I want one and I don't have it. But it's a nifty little thing. But no, I'm wanting like as far as like at least he had a VE thermostat for the incubator on hand. Trying to find an incubator on hand. You would have had those eggs at your house while you wait for Amazon to drop off an inkbird in 2 days.
yeah. Well, I mean, and then on top of that, I had the gobies in there. I had one in the incubator, one in the egg box, and those weren't helping my stress levels at all because they're pretty good at telling you that it's 99% humidity. But as far as the temperature goes, it's like it was everywhere.
Yeah.
So that didn't help.
Yeah, and the moment that you put those govies or any sensor, even if it says water resistant, the moment you put it in a chamber like that with water, and it stays at that constant humidity level for a few days, you cannot rely on accurate temp readings at that point because it's just that's not what they're designed for.
Right.
I ended up putting when I ran that system, I put all of my sensor push or Govee sensors inside of a Ziploc bag, and then placing them in the incubator. But even that, it got to 99% humidity, and they all ended up just they were trash after those 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Wi-Fi ones really shit out on you, but the Bluetooth ones are a little bit more reliable. But still, I don't even really go off of what's in the egg box. It'll drive you up a wall because they're not even close to being calibrated. If you look at the accuracy, it's like plus or minus 2 degrees on either end Fahrenheit. That's
why I use it. That's why I use a sensor push. They go as low as 0.6 degrees.
Well, that's good. That's accurate.
They're expensive, but it's worth it because I guess I run my garage all ambient, so I can't mess with a plus or minus 2 degree. That's the difference of a female laying a good clutch and a female laying an infertile or killed sperm clutch because they're too hot.
So you got them back from the pet store. They're in shit condition for the most part. They're pretty dented for the first 7 days because they were only at the pet store for 7 days, correct?
7 days. Took them on the 11th. I got them back on the 18th.
So you put them in there. I said, listen, they're going to plump up. Don't worry about it. You got the Orbeez in there. you had like 750 holes at the time. We got that
Yeah.
covered up. But now start to walk us through. We went through, the ambient effect, and we limped it along with the temperatures. We were, 87-ish is what I told you we
Right.
were going to incubate at.
Right.
Now walk us through as you started to lose them one by one, some of the ones that didn't make it, and tie into that also. Try to remember if that one rotten clump, if a live one emerged out of that you have. I don't remember if you have one from that clump of 3, because you had a clump of 3, a clump of
Right.
it was 3
It
separate.
was so I had,
Clump of
let
9,
me see.
clump of 3, and 3 separate, I believe is what the numbers were.
I had 3 separate. 1, 2, 3, 4. A clump of 4.
Okay. And then
And then and 3 of those went bad like late in the whole thing.
yeah.
One of the ones, let's see.
And it was a topic of
So
conversation while you're checking the notes. It was a topic of conversation. The question came up: should you separate the rotten eggs from the good ones? And I told you leave them, and you did. And I'm curious to know if something came out of those.
yeah, I want to say one came out of that clump.
I mean, while you're looking for that, just kind of my perspective, and I used to, when I was new at breeding, I would, I'd see an egg start to develop mole, and I would do the whole, foot powder, and another trick people say is get brown Listerine and put on a Q-tip, and just try to wipe away the mold a little bit, and all that did was cause more stress, and now if I get a clutch that is lumped together and they aren't separating easy, I put the group in there, and if there is an outside egg that's that's molding and going bad, and I can remove it easy, no problem. But I've hatched eggs attached to disgusting, rotten smelling, nasty eggs. I'm a firm believer that an embryo that wants to survive is going to survive. You got to think about it, man. In the wild, these eggs all the time are being attached to other eggs that go bad, and they hatch.
My only concern was he was getting some excessive sweating from one of the really farther along eggs, and it was starting to get one of the good eggs wet.
Okay.
It was so that was my concern, and I just had him. We had a little system where I was having him dust them heavily with the Lotrimin antifungal foot powder, and I don't believe I had him use chlorhexidine, but I have personally used chlorhexidine directly on the eggshells before. Not that I recommend it, but I have used chlorhexidine on mold. And it was recommended now to a buddy of mine who tried to separate a clutch and one popped, and it got yolk and amniotic fluid all over all the other eggs, and every single egg that touched that died. And I believe it was because of bacteria growth that got into that egg. And now I always have people that are separating eggs keep on hand chlorhexidine and some Q-tips, and to immediately wipe them if they pop an egg, or if there's a mold. I'm starting to learn is not as bad as you think it actually is. So, but I've treated eggshells in my first clutch directly with chlorhexidine surgical scrub, the pink stuff, and it worked.
Oh wow.
For about a week or 10 days. It would hold it off, but it got a couple to the finish line. Get ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so out of that clump, it was one of the ones that it developed, but it was dead.
Okay.
It was fully developed. It just didn't make it. I don't know why. It just.
I don't think we'll ever know. They had a rough ride.
Right.
They had a rough ride.
Dude, it seems like it, man.
And they went bad pretty quick, like pretty close together. Um, so one of them just turned brown. One of the ones that was by itself started turning brown on the 25th, and on the 26th, it was already growing old. It was done. Then it just shriveled up into like a little, I don't know, it was just small and hard. But I was like, whatever, I'm not gonna get rid of it. So I just kept it in there. Then by the 29th, another one had started molding and then turned another one brown too. So it was like within a day, two other ones went bad. And then no. So the 27th, let's see. So the 26th was when that clump started, the egg and the clump started going bad. The 6th is when the single egg went bad.
Okay. I'm gonna go over and bring up I found the original Instagram post of you, just kind of sharing what happened, and then you give an update, and this update, like, I read it in my mind and I felt like you were writing that with so much relief here. Talking about sending them over to the pet shop. I don't know if that's true or not, but like,
it wasn't until I talked to Chuck.
Yeah, and then like I read that and I was like, man, he thought he was good.
Yeah.
And then they put it on fish aquarium rocks.
Yeah. No, they
that didn't even look like vermiculite.
Made me feel good about it at first.
No, I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure that was fish rocks. That wasn't vermiculite.
You know what I think that was? That cocoa husk brick that you put in the water.
No, I got plenty of that stuff here. It literally looked. Where was it hard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they wet aquarium rocks. Where the if any of you guys are listening, you saw the images that I'm putting up in post edit. Let us know what you think what they are, but they look like aquarium rocks to me. But man, the audacity of that female, she's just like, nah, like, these are your problem. She's like,
yeah,
that female's like, you said you wanted a challenge, here you go.
And I tried to put her back in the box and like seal the hole. She was like, no, it's not gonna happen, dude.
Oh man,
you took them last year, you could take them this year too, motherfucker.
So we don't have to, we're not going to definitely jump in this far, but while we're talking about it, these are, the babies and even the coat rack over here, dude, like even that is just like, so like, just like what you got, just let's use it.
Yeah.
But so let's kind of speed it forward. So some of them started dying off, and Chuck was kind of guiding you through the a lot of them were sweating, scared they were going to get on the other eggs, but there were 15 eggs total, and you had how many hatch out and perch?
6 hatched out, and then one of them just, I don't know if it had a kink tail or if it just didn't want to straighten it. But it was just kind of lethargic on the ground after it came out of the egg. So I helped it perch, and then I came back about 2 hours later and it was back on the ground. I was like, okay, well, I'll just leave it for the night. So I left it for the night. The next morning I opened it up and it was dead. So 5 perched up and are healthy. Out of the 15 though, I had it was 14 eggs, 1 slug, 3 molded in the incubator. At the very end of it, when I was cutting them, 2 of them were underdeveloped, 3 died in the egg, and then that one that wouldn't perch ended up dying. So I ended up with 5.
I would say, considering the nightmare of a story that this was, hatching out 5 neonates is pretty damn successful.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, dude. Like, I've heard so many nightmares and stories about artificial incubation with these eggs that I've been back and forth about maternal incubation just from the get go with my first clutch and just doing that. Obviously, I got an incubator here ready to go if I need to, if they do abandon it. But but then we talk to people on the show like Ryan and like Mark that we've had on, and they've really broken it down to where I feel maybe a little bit better about incubation. But so we showed some pictures of those neos. How are they currently? Well, I mean, before we go into that, Chuck, any other aspects of this that we didn't cover?
I had mentioned to him and throughout the entire incubation that I was pretty confident that there would be a fair amount of loss due to deformities.
Okay.
So I would chalk up the deadened eggs as possible underdeveloped or possible issues early on in incubation. I would probably say that 6th one that came out with the kink tail or the deformed tail was 100% due to moving around, temperature fluctuations. It wasn't the perfect incubation. Not that there ever is one, but to give, to commend you, Ryan, honestly, is your attention to detail due to the circumstances, even though they didn't have the best chance. Your attention to detail and how disciplined you were at checking them and making sure that they were good and calling me and then me and you talking on the phone, figuring it out. There are people that have the perfect incubation setup with 15 eggs and they get 3 babies. That happens very, very often.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you ended up with
Even
5.
under perfect conditions,
Yeah, and you ended up with 5 with this nightmare, and I can't tell you how many times I'm looking forward to seeing a clutch from someone and they all die, or only 3 out of like 15 or 12 make it. So all things considered, from my perspective on people's experience of how incubation is, that's a hell of an outcome.
I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
listen, you got babies in the hatchling rack right now, Ryan. So this shouldn't be an insult, but if anything, it should be a compliment. For your accomplishment is you had a perfect top of the line incubator on your first clutch, and you went 0 for 18.
You don't even have to tell me. I know.
Now you hatched out 5 out of 15 in a freaking cooler that you better bring to every damn barbecue this summer and drink beer out of.
Right? Hell yeah. Just make sure that you close every hole. If you got a cooler with beer in there, you cannot have that ice melting.
Yeah, no shit.
How the babies do now? Any of them take their first you're really cooking them that they would have gone earlier.
Well, it was 87-ish.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a bush beer, that commercial. It's like, ish. Yeah.
Yeah, 87 and 95.
Exactly. Yep. That's what we incubated at.
Exactly. Oh man.
It was
So-
100. Or it was 87-ish. About 100% of the time, 60% of the time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So 5 babies, they hatched, from the time that we're recording this, almost a month ago. When did you start feeding trials, and where are you at with that?
So they just shed on the 13th. And then I basically just tried from the 16th now, trying to feed all of them. Got a couple strikes.
Good.
Got one to start feeding. I got one actually just took a second meal today.
Awesome. Okay.
So, and that's the first one I tried feeding to begin with. So he took it like within the first 3 minutes. He was on it. And I'm like, hell yeah, this is easy. So I'm talking about. No. This has been so hard. I cannot stress that enough. And I'm like hitting Chuck up every day. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. I don't know if I'm doing. He's like, you're doing everything right. They just suck.
Yeah, and you don't know, like, dude, I the whole tease feeding aspect of that bullshit, right? Like, you can watch all the videos in the world and you're never going to feel like you do it right until you get your first one to finally eat it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. Because, dude, I've done the whole bouncing back and forth, and then like just beating them up a little bit and tapping them and everything, and they're not doing it. And this is like the first time that I'm going through, and I'm there afterwards after an hour of doing this with a handful of snakes, and none of them are doing it, and you're like, I gotta be doing something wrong.
Right.
But really, there's no wrong way to do it unless you're there is definitely a technique. But I don't know, man. You really don't know it until you do it.
It's like 2 of them. I'll sit there and I'll tease them. I'll poke them, prod them, everything. They smell it and they're like, nah, I'm good. So then I'll put some scent on it, try it again. No, I'm good. We'll go to spray them with water and they're attacking the water. It's like, what are you doing? I got another one that he won't grab it unless it's his tail. He'll grab it with his tail. And then he'll hold on to it for about 3 minutes and then just let it go. But he won't put his head anywhere near it. And then I have another one we call him Lover Boy because he just keeps his head tucked until you touch him, and then he'll crawl all over your hand, but will not be aggressive. And after they all hatched, they were striking 3 or 4 times right after they hatched. Like when I went to go, that one that died the first night, another one was laying on top of it. I went to go grab the dead one. And the one that was alive started biting me, like, get away from my brother, like, what are you doing? Like, he's in total defense mode. And now I go to feed him, and all of them are like, no, I'm good.
Man, who's got a bird, by the way, and what kind of bird? It sounds like a cockatiel.
Not me.
It's a green cheek conure.
Oh, nice. And it's still pretty early in the game, but let me ask you this. Are you planning to do any assist feeding if it gets to that point?
If it gets to that point, then I will, and hopefully Chuck will guide me through that as he has throughout the rest of this thing.
Chuck, what
I'm terrified.
Yeah, Chuck, what do you? I mean, dude, I don't like assist feeding retic hatchlings, let alone a 6 gram neonate. That's not cool. Like the smallest retic hatchling I've had, has hatched out, I don't know, I think 51 grams, which is tiny for a retic. That's a Superdorf retic. To think of 6 grams, how am I supposed to grab that thing? I don't know. So Chuck, what are you gonna how coach him through it right now?
It's not like super hard. You kind of you grab. No. It depends on the prey item. I mean, if you're trying to do a pinky head or a pinky, that's a pain in the ass.
Explode.
But rat's tail or a mouse leg. I haven't tried the chicken gizzard that Bill Stiegel uses, but I mean the mouse legs, super easy. I mean, if you can get them to strike, you can get them to eat it because it gets stuck in their mouth. So, but there's a what I found is when I grab them behind the back of the head, you got to kind of hold behind the jaw hinges with these two fingers, and then the other finger has to pin like the first 1/4 of their body and keep it straight, because they'll try to twirl it so that it can't go down. So if you can get that straight, you pop the mouse leg in, and then what I do is I release a little bit of pressure on these two fingers, and it almost allows the jaw to open up, and you can put it right in, and then you just let it go and you put it in a tub with no perch, no water bowl, no nothing. It's just a bare tub, slide it in. That mouse like gets stuck in their mouth, and they find out that it's a lot easier to swallow it than spit it out. Maybe 1 out of 10 times they'll spit it out and be successful, but you pop it right back in. They've struggled with it for probably 15 minutes to get it out.
That's that's genius. Never thought of that. I'm curious. Do you do the whole surgical procedure that I hear people doing, is they'll take the fur or the leg off?
Yeah. So people use scalpels. I just use cuticle
My bare
scissors.
hands. Chuck's biting out the skin and ripping it out.
Now I'll take cuticle scissors. I'll spread the legs open. You just take it in that void. You snip it, and then you can see where the flesh is. You trim out the drumstick. If it's an adult mouse, I'll trim the nails off, but I'll leave a little bit of fur on there for it. It's so easy just to pop it right in. And I've been using like my my one upstairs, the one-eyed one that hasn't even struck yet. That's the only troublesome feeder. That's a real pain in the ass out of this recent clutch. And I don't feed it one mouse leg. If I feed it mouse legs, it's getting 4.
Oh, geez,
right in a row. And I'll take the shoulders of the front, and I'll just take all 4 legs off the mouse. I'll feed the mouse to another snake that I have, and I will feed, one leg. It takes about 15 minutes to swallow it. Once it's in its stomach, another leg, and just repeat. And, last feeding session, I did that while feeding a couple that were giving me some trouble after having sheds. It took me 3.5 hours to feed seven animals, and 1 was assisted. The other 6 took it.
So, yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. I'm not looking forward to that day. I know that they're to come, if I'm lucky enough to even get eggs on the ground. But I'm curious, as we wrap up, Ryan, this whole experience and getting to see them hatch. I mean, you still got a ways to go. In the chondro world, you ask any breeder and they'll tell you you're not over the hump yet, right? You got one, that's doing solid for you. But I'm curious, what was the experience like? Has it lit up that kind of like desire and fire to kind of maybe get some more or to breed some more, or maybe just stick with the 2 you have?
No, it's lit a fire for me and my wife. Like, my wife's on the page every day. She's like, "Hey, look at this one. Hey, look at that one. Let's work a little bit more overtime. Let's get it." It's like, all right. Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. So she's like, she wanted a stay-at-home job, and so I'm kind of going through it with her, and then she wants to try to make this thing for her. So
cool.
More power to her,
Yeah, let her grow that Instagram.
Yeah.
So and, do you have a direction of what you want to do this? You have any ideas of the type of animals, locality, designer, have you gone down that rabbit hole that is ask Chuck, it's a deep rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
When I first got into it, it was just all blues. I wanted to eventually get blues. My wife really likes the tricolors and stuff like that. So I don't think that there's really any direction that I want to go or not. I just want to, if I see a snake and I like the way it looks, then I want to get it. And like I said, this is just for fun for us. I'm not trying to be a professional. I'm not trying to be big time in it. I want to have fun. I like the challenge, and this is something that's going to continue to challenge us for a long time.
Right. And I really, I love that approach. Again, the no pressure, I mean, it's the least stressful way. And I don't know, it's nice and refreshing to hear someone not want to have to be somebody that like everyone needs to know about their animals and those kind of things. And, you know, there's a lot of good in just like enjoying it without, I mean, I mean, have you talked to anybody else in the chondro community besides Chuck and now myself?
Yes, Bill. We really wanted to go to the reptile talks on Saturday because it's only 45 minutes from my house, about an hour maybe with traffic. But my cousin was having a baby shower, and her fiance's birthday was the same day. Well, they live even closer. So I hit up Bill and I was like, "Hey, do you know what time you're going to be on or anything? You know, like what time it all starts? We kind of want to go, but we'd have to leave. I don't want to be rude to the other speakers." So we ended up not going and kicked myself in the ass for that one too, because that's just a lot of good information to have, you know?
Oh, I can imagine. And you know, I heard that it went phenomenal. You know, they raised $35,000 for USARC as well, which is great. So I'm following you ever since Chuck kind of shared your page with me. I'm supporting you, man. You overcame so many, you know, obstacles and you know, I'm glad that someone like Chuck was willing to reach out. Let me go ahead real quick and share my screen one last time to you know, draw people to your page again, guys. You know, for just admire the grind and hustle and the willingness to kind of push through this and to see some babies come out, man. Some people don't even get lucky enough to hatch these animals because they could be a pain, and you did it with all that stress. But high voltage chondros, yeah, Chuck, before we kick him out and close out the episode, do you have any other questions or anything else for him?
Really no other questions. I just wanted to say, Brian, I'm glad we met, man. I'm really proud to call you my friend now, and I'm super proud of you with hatching these things out with all the obstacles and the situation. I mean, like I said, you've now joined the group of less than, I think it's 225 people now that are on that breeder's key that have ever done it since 1976 in this country. That is a huge milestone. It is unbelievable. And you have your own, you know, you have your own breeder's ID now. You're joining the breeder's key. It's an elite group, and you should be very proud of yourself as well as your wife. And I'm excited to call you my friend, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with your collection now. This can be an awesome story, you know, 5 years from now when you're pumping out 2-3 clutches years of designers, and you go back to that first clutch you hashed out successfully. It's just, I feel like I made a lifelong friend.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Luke.
No, I was gonna say it's an awesome story 2 weeks from now when people hear it. I can imagine when you're pumping out some awesome animals. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But yeah, sorry to cut you off right there.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I gotta thank Chuck. Like, this wouldn't have happened had he not hit me up. I think all those eggs probably would have died at the pet shop, to be honest. And good thing he came in and talked some sense into me, and he's like, "You got it. Just be a man about it." Like, all right. So yeah, thank you, and I'm very grateful to call you my friend. Honestly, I know with the time difference, I hit you up pretty late sometimes, but it's always hit me back up. So yeah, thank you so much.
Love you, brother. Glad you're my friend, man. That's what this is all about.
Yeah,
we'll have to get together for sure.
I want to drink beer out of that cooler.
For real.
Yeah.
that cooler is I don't care what times you get into that cooler you got to keep that cooler. That's a piece of your chondro breeding history right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I told him I'm gonna put it up on a shelf like a trophy, and
exactly,
it'll just be up here.
Exactly. Get some good pictures of the parents and the neos that make it and kind of like frame them around the cooler. But man, it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you, man, and it's awesome to have you come on here. It's your very first podcast you've ever done, and I'm happy to be the second person you've ever talked to in the chondro community, over this type of conversation. And congrats. That was a complete shitstorm that you overcame, and I'm happy that some of them went the distance for you, but we'll have you on at another time and catch up and see what animals you've added and how some of those babies are doing, and looking forward to having you on again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's I was really nervous coming onto this, my first podcast, but it's pretty fun. I think I like it.
That incubation was nothing compared to this podcast.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, hey, you got through that. This is a walk in the park.
Yeah, no joke. So, but yeah, thank you for having me on and taking the time to let me tell my story. Yeah, man.
Glad to have you on, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Later, brother.
Chuck, man. I gotta say it again. Good dude. And I saw there were other people looking on, and I'll bring it up again. Let me do this real quick before we wrap up. Where the hell did this post go? There it is. So, I want to say, like, there were people, of course, Mark Hager, the man, right? And Mazal Chondros, there were people that did comment and everything. And I don't want to like say that's that's important too, that just people commenting and supporting, but you reach out and you called him and you talked him through, and that's huge, man, to a stranger who's just like, help. And we've gotten to know each other pretty well, and you're a busy dude. You got kids, you're a coach, you work,
2 careers.
Yeah. And so, man. So hats off to you. Awesome to know someone that's going to reach out to a stranger just to provide some support. And I'm sure for you, you're like, this is going to be a challenge. Let me try this. Let's see if we can make this work. And I feel like, that's, I don't know, just a good attitude to have about it all.
I appreciate it, man. When I saw that post, his message was to me before I saw that post, but I didn't see the message because it was hidden the requests.
Oh, damn.
I just saw that post pop up on my feed. I'm like, oh my God. I called him on the little, like the phone on Instagram on messages.
Yep.
And the only thing that I thought that made me panic when I first saw it was I always try to put myself in other people's shoes. And I read the post. I'm like, dude, I would be devastated. So much work to fail for such a stupid reason. Like such a silly reason where the snake abandoned the eggs. There's no fucking way I was going to let somebody fail because that snake was just being a chondro. Because they don't have any legs, and they'll kick you square in the nuts every chance they get. And that's just a dumb reason to lose a clutch, is because a female decided she didn't want to maternally incubate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not his fault that he didn't have an incubator anymore. I mean, who would have foreseen that? You know what I mean? Like,
and again, if he was going into this, buying 8 chondros and he was 20K deep and he would like, then I would say like, yeah, like dumb, like you didn't have an incubator on backup, dumb. But like, again, he was just like, the incubator stuck last year. I'm just trying to like, see if I could do this, and let's do maternal incubation because, why is a female snake gonna leave its freaking eggs?
And doing it for fun,
right? And so like, yeah, that just an awesome story. But
it worked out. It worked out regardless.
It like nothing short of a damn miracle. So if any of you are listening to this and you've gotten to this end, I want to challenge you. If you have another crazy incubator success story or another crazy story, comment down below. We'd like to have you on to talk about it. We can get a segment in this podcast about just crazy means of hatching these animals. I think that would be pretty cool and unique. But Chuck, I almost called you Chondro. because I read chill chondros on the back of your thing. Chuck, you got anything before we wrap up?
Nah, that was a good episode. I've talked to Ryan quite a few times in the last last few months. But yeah, no, it's cool. It was cool to finally tell the story. I think it's going to be an awesome episode. I don't think there's one out there like it, to be honest with you. Not to mention, I mean, I agree with all the big time guys. If you're going to be doing this and be serious, I mean, other than Patrick Holmes, who is he's the Messiah. Good luck trying to hatch him in a cooler.
I feel like the only thing Patrick hasn't done that he's probably going to do is he's going to like butt naked sit down and incubate the eggs himself.
I was just about to say,
dude,
he would probably meditate on a clutch, and they would all hatch,
and they would hatch. Exactly,
100% hatch rate.
Exactly. All right. On that note, thanks for tuning in to episode 3, and we'll be back with episode 4 in a couple weeks on Monday. You guys take it easy.
Y'all take care.